Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB, back again with all your United news and anything in between, anything you want to talk about. Obviously, get in the chat and let me know. What are we doing tonight? So it is the last day of July. We're going to be entering August, and obviously we're going to be entering into those final pre-season games, and of course we're going to be entering into a new Premier League season with these current players. So I hope you're all doing really well this evening. It's nice to be back in here. I do have things planned for in here, but right now I was just trying to find time to do these things. So I hope we're all well, whatever we're doing this evening, whatever we're doing in your morning, afternoon, evening, because I know we have people watching from around the world, which is absolutely amazing. And as per always, get into the chat and let me know what you think of the show. I always say this, try and be as respectful to each other as we can. I don't mind you getting in your opinions. I don't necessarily mind you kind of shifting the chat around. Obviously I've got stuff to say and things to give you an update on. Tonight I do want to kind of really let you drive it in terms of what we think about the players, where we think we're going to finish this season based on the performance this morning. God, it has been such a long day doing the stream this morning and doing a couple of streams today, so I am extremely tired this evening. So I don't know how long we can go. I'll go on for as long as my stamina lets me go on. So get in the chat, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, let us know what you like, what we do. It really just helps us out, really just helps the channel out, get this amazing community. I do have an amazing community on here. Tulip Place says, evening Joe Biden. Oh, I love it. Tulip Place is a legend of the chat and one of our mods and is an absolute star. Comes up with some brilliant points, so feel free to get into the chat. Absolute legend of the chat as always. So thank you for being here. So update: Fabrizio Romano has come out in the last couple of hours and basically confirmed that United are basically going to make an official bid. So obviously what that means is that they've obviously gone to the player. The player has said yes, that they initially want to come. We can talk about where Newcastle are on that as well, because I sort of had a feeling that they might back away, but I think there's still a little bit of a couple of things that we need to do on this one before we get it over the line. So we can talk about Garnacho as well, a little bit on Garnacho and what his plans are, and then I really want to get your thoughts and feelings on the game last night. If you managed to watch it, it was a little bit late and delayed by half an hour. So if you managed to watch it, if you've seen the highlights, what people have said, I watched the game, and we can sort of talk about what you think our team's going to be, our 11 will be. I think that now that we're sort of halfway through this pre-season, it will be good to kind of see what we will think about the team and the shape that it's in. So as I said, Fabrizio has basically confirmed that United are going to put in an official bid for Sesko. So what does this mean? So what this means is that when you start putting in official bids, is that you are going to pretty much go and chuck everything you can at this player. Now, I was of the opinion, and we did say this last weekish before kind of the Watkins things kind of started to kick off again, is that we were always in for Watkins. But it was a hypothetical, is what happens if we were actually in for Sesko? What would Aston Villa do? Now, Aston Villa, I don't know if they're going to come back with a kind of late deal, but as far as I'm concerned and Fabrizio is concerned, we are all in for Sesko. So those who wanted Watkins, unless we fail in this deal, then we are all in for Sesko. So the only reason we would go for Watkins now is if we were kind of messed up this Sesko deal, which is ours to do. So there's an official bid that will go in. Now Leipzig want it's reported between 69 and 75 mil. Now again, is that we've discussed this and you can get in the chat with what you think about that price. In a nutshell, feel free to go back and watch what I've said on this. I do think when you look at the age and you look at the profile of the player, financially it does make sense. I think financially, when you look at the financials, it does make sense. And you might be saying, well, that's a bit crazy to pay 72, 75 million on a on essentially another player who's the same age as Højlund, who Højlund actually played pretty well last night. But when you spread that over X amount of years, if you give him a 5-year deal, you amortize that. So if you're going to do it over 3 installments, 4 installments, you amortize that over X amount of years. Say if he's here for 10 years, that's value for money there as well. And also as well, then if he does well, he may decide to go to a Spanish club, for example. So you unless something drastically goes wrong with a youth player, a player of these calibers who are expected to be world class, then you're not really going to lose your money. So I think as a financial deal, it makes sense. So those of you who wanted Watkins in some respects was my first choice. I was sort of 50-50 between the two, but Šeško for me, I'm happy that we're going for that. Now there is still a little bit of a kicker here. So one of the things I said is that the moment that we go into official talks and official bids, Newcastle may decide to back off the deal. Now, Šeško has alluded to the fact that he wants to come to us, but he hasn't said he only exclusively wants to come to us. Now, this is because Newcastle are still there, still in the background, still trying to work a deal. They could easily put in a bigger bid, a large bid, and they're going to pay whatever Leipzig want, and they'll pay the player what they want. Now, one of there are 2 appealing things potentially that could happen here, is that Newcastle want to make him the star of the club. They want to make him the headline. They want to make him, the big star, which can be attractive to some people. They are in the Champions League, so they do want to make him the star of the show. Now, Newcastle are a big club. They've got one of the richest owners in the world, but they can't get the money into the club. So the glamour, in my opinion, really is coming to us as a club. We still have that pull. So I think Šeško has been very, very smart here. He has said that he's not going to make his decision for a couple of days. And of course, the reasoning behind that is if United then fell, which we all know that we could easily drop the ball on this one, is that then Šeško hasn't said he only wants to come to this club, and he can still do that Newcastle deal. So there is still Newcastle out there in the ether. They've not gone away totally, and nor should they. I think any smart club wouldn't go there, particularly right now when we're involved. Our reputation precedes us and the things that we do. So I'm not going to lie. I've always said that I could see Šeško in a Newcastle shirt, but that was pretty much before we decided to enter into official negotiations. We're going to put in an official bid, but Šeško is not going to make his mind up for a couple of days. But we need to factor in that the season is going to start. The window will close. So we can't take ages to do this deal, not with Newcastle in there. So those of you who want Šeško quickly, those of you who want him just in, people like me who just want him in, want him to get into the club and get here now, and I think you're going to get your wish pretty soon. Now we can talk about how that links in the second part, because I want to go through the team a bit and then just talk about Højlund last night and what we think is going to happen with the team. What do we think our team is? Maybe we need to debate each position and say, look, where do we think that we play, and we can start debating on that position as well. Douglas Luiz, an update on him. So apparently Forest are looking to get him on loan. So I would like Luiz at the club, but Forest are pushing hard to get him to the club. Now I think they'll be, again, they are strengthening. They've got Antony, they may get him. They've got a couple of other players. So Forest are a little bit concerning because they are starting to get players in, and Luiz I think is one that I don't want to sleep on that player, but again, we can talk midfielders as well, because we are looking at midfielders. And then Garnacho. So Garnacho, pretty much, and he's starting to come out. I do have friends who support. They 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 support uh, they support Aston Villa and Chelsea as well. But my Chelsea friends look like they're closer to the club. I mean, they don't necessarily know anything, but they're closer to their club and their fans. And the noises coming out of there are basically that Garnacho and Chelsea are colluding together to basically try and get a deal. Now, the Chelsea fans that I do know are not big and hot on this deal, but again, Garnacho is a very, very young player. Again, Chelsea, if they're getting for 35 million, that's if we need to sell him. They'll be getting a really, really good deal. Madrid, that's where he wants to end up. Who's to say they pay 35 for him, and then in 2 to 3 years' time, he wants to then go there and they get like 100 million for him. So we're in a little bit of a predicament with him. Is that has also come out to caveat to the side is that we don't need to sell to buy to do this deal. We do need to sell players to balance the books, but we don't need to sell players to go and do what we need to do. So this is linked in with obviously the centre midfielder as well. But Garnacho to Chelsea, we need that because it's pure profit on the books, and it just means that it enables us to balance those books. So Chip Plays says if we make a proper bid nearer the asking price, Sesko will make us his exclusive option. I agree with you on that one. He just doesn't want to commit and get burnt again like Arsenal. I'd want Newcastle. He'd be there by. Chip Plays couldn't have summed it up better myself. Absolutely correct. I think as I've alluded to there as well is that he doesn't want to get burnt, right? He's keeping his options open just in case we fail on this deal. And as you say, he's been used by Arsenal. He was wanted by them. He was their number one choice, their pick, and they basically used him to get a deal. And I think you're absolutely right. I think if we go in with a bid and we show that we want this player and we show that we're in for him, then I think as Tulip Play nails it there, is that I think he'll commit to us and exclusively commit to us. And then Newcastle at that point will back off. But again, he has to hedge his bets and play his bets because obviously he doesn't want to get burnt again. So I absolutely agree with that statement, and I do not blame the player for that. So it looks like things should start happening as well this week. Antony, so just a quick update on that. That's gone a bit quiet. I'm getting a little bit disappointed with him actually because he's not having a pre-season. He wants to go to Betis, but Betis can't afford it, so he's kind of hedging his bets and wanting to go back there. The Saudi deal, as much as I thought that was absolutely nailed on, as did tons of other people, but that looks like it's gone quiet because I think he's kicking his toys out of the pram because he wants to go back to Betis. But if that happens, then that's a loan to buy deal. But if that does happen again, it needs to be an obligation to buy. Just Tulip Plays over 20 watching. Hit the like button and get involved in the chat. Thank you, Tulip Plays. That's absolutely amazing. 20 people watching is honestly, it is absolutely amazing, and I thank you all. Just a little like and subscribe really helps us out. Get in the chat. I'm not a dictator in the chats. Hopefully the chat will say I'm not one to, if you go off on a tangent slightly, I'm happy to entertain and debate because I think that's good. If you don't agree with me, that's cool. I'm happy to debate, and maybe you never know, you might change my mind. Snoopy CS says, what happens to Garnacho if the Šeško deal happens soon? Garnacho's going out the door, mate. Whatever happens, Garnacho is going. So the reason why it's taken so long is that Garnacho and his team felt that they could get a move on his own. He's got it in his mind that he wants to stay in the Premier League. Now, I think Chelsea have got in his brain early doors. Like, Chelsea are not stupid, and the way they do their business, I'm not a fan of it, but they do their business. They've got one of the best teams, right? So Garnacho, the Napoli deal I think was on. So the United stand, to be fair to them, guys, really good showing team over there. They reported that Napoli were in it, and I do think that They were in for him, but I think he's changed his mind. I think Chelsea have been in his ear. So Chelsea are looking to get that deal and looking to get a cheap option. Now, if Garnacho, so Sesko doesn't mean that we necessarily need to sell him, but the Garnacho deal, we need to do that deal to balance the books, not necessarily to buy players. So there's a differential there, is that we need him to balance the books, not necessarily to buy players. We can buy players, but to balance the books, then for the last financial year, we need to get him on and basically to get him to balance the books. So that's why that sell is important. It's different from having to sell to buy, because we suddenly got this money now to buy players, to buy a centre midfielder as well. So Garnacho does need to go. The club have got intermediaries involved as well now to get this deal done. So he's going to go, but he may wait. He's playing a dangerous game, wait until the end of the window. But if we do have to sell him, we're probably going to have to sell him for the region of 35 to 40. We value him between 50 and 60. So, and if Chelsea want him to Chelsea, is 60 million. But if we need to sell him, then of course that's what's going to have to happen. Spirit of LFC fans, big up yourself, my friend. Amazing chat the other day, my friend. I'm so glad that you're here. Smash, cheers, buddy. Liverpool need 2 centre backs, Guehi, Loney, and Isaac. I told you before, you need to stop buying players. You keep buying all the players. And you do need to stop, because we need players as well, all right? No. Yeah, you do need to buy those players. And I've no doubt Isaac is just waiting, isn't he? I do hope that Šeško's put a spanner in the works. You know, you're going to get Isaac whatever happens. Newcastle need that money. But if we can just make your life a little bit harder, then, you know, I'm not adverse to that, my friend. Antony and Betis are annoying me. Those brokies can't afford him. They want a loan. We need to sell him and could get 40 from Saudi, but he wants the Betis. Exactly. He needs to go. He needs to go to Saudi. Again, World Cup year. You know, he needs to. He'll be gone. I'm starting to have a little bit of confidence in what we're doing with those players. It's taken a little while, but I do think that we are, and I'm being positive here for once. I think that Sancho, it will go. These players will go. It's World Cup year. Sancho's not going to go to the World Cup. You know, he's not stupid. But Antony is again, he's playing a dangerous game, and I did have respect for him, but that's clearly that is, in my opinion, leaving the room, and he needs to get a move, as you said there. Spirit of LFC fans, Liverpool need to sell Tsimikas, Ramsey, Williams, Gomez, injury prone, Morton, Elliott, Doak, Kaiser, and Nunes. You'll sell them all, mate. I've no worries there, my friend. You will get them gone, and I'm sure you'll get in some more world-class players. So my heart bleeds for you. Clearly not, but you'll get them, my friend. Yakaduhu. Apologies if I pronounce your name wrong. I'm terrible at pronunciations. I am terrible. But thank you for being here, and thank you for the chat. What's the latest about Benjamin Šeško? So, in a nutshell, before we can move on, before we start talking about like where I think we'll finish this season, United, as reported by Fabrizio, obviously go, and he doesn't put things out there just for the sake of it. United are going to put in an official bid. Now, I think if we go in there aggressively with the bid and we make out that we want the player and we're going to get this deal done, I think Šeško will commit, as Tulip Play has already said in the chat. I think he'll commit to us, and then he will come out and officially say, I only want to come to this club. But right now, Newcastle are still there, quite correctly so. They are still there. They'll pay whatever Leipzig want. They'll pay what the player wants. They've got Champions League football, and they want Šeško as their star of that team and the main star of that team. So they're still there. But the fact that Sesko has not chosen them, he's going to make his choice in 3 or 4 days. But the fact that we're prepared to put in an official bid normally means that the player wants to come, because you don't put in official bids until you've had talks with the club. They've alluded to the price they want. You know, the player wants to come. We've gone to the player first. Newcastle went to the club first. So we know Šeško is open to come into us. The preference is for us. So we now need to basically just go and get this player. It's there to be done. It's there to be messed up. But I'm going to be positive and say that we are going to go and get the deal done. Spill of LFC fans. So Newcastle playing hardball, but they need to get a striker first. Please sell the players of Isaac. Exactly. They do. And this is kind of Isaac, Šeško, and all that is linked. I do think, and I think I might have said this as well this afternoon, that I think Watkins is probably the one I think they'll go for. Maybe. I mean, I don't know enough about the club in terms of what they do or what their fans think. It would be logical probably for them to go for Watkins, Champions League. I think he'll go there. It'll be less expensive. But it depends on what their recruitment team is like. Have they got targets outside of the obvious ones? So I think pretty soon, as soon as United put in a bid, and Šeško then commits, Newcastle will back away completely, or they've probably even stoking the fire now. So I think that goes until the end of the window potentially, but Liverpool will get their man as they always do. Tulip Play says they will go, but it will be loans, which I don't want. Sell permanently, or we'll be back here next summer. And the funny thing is, Amorim has already said this. Amorim has already said that we're comfortable with, if these players have to come back, we'll make room in the squad. I think that was directed at a Garnacho. I do think it was at him. Because, he knows he needs to get a move. He knows he needs to get out of this club. I still think it's sad, the situation. But Antony, these players, if we don't need to sell to buy, and Chelsea want to do the dirty, and they've been in this players here, which I think they have, and they think they're going to get a cut price deal, and they want to get this deal done for 35 million. I'll be consistent on this. If we don't need to sell, keep him. Keep him in the reserves. Let him rot there. Because next season he's still going to be worth 35 million, 30 to 35 million. Let him rot. He's going to have a year without playing. He won't be in the Argentinian squad. He'll damage his reputation. He'll damage his career. I'm not a fan of that. And also, as a kind of ex-accountant, I'm not a big fan of if you've got an asset, then you need to use your asset to bring you money in, and that means that they play and then they put you into competitions. They sell your shirts. So he's one for the future. He is a big star. You can't let that asset sit away. But if you give your asset away under value, then that's equally as bad. So if we need to sell, then we've got to sell him whatever price, and that's what we've done. That's what the manager's done as well. So if that's what we've done, then sadly we're going to have to sell him. But if we don't need to, my opinion is we let him rot. I don't like to do that. I don't necessarily agree to that with young players, but it sends a message out to players who come here. It sends a message out to the team that we're not going to take this anymore. For too long, player power has existed at this club, and if he doesn't find a good move before the window, and Chelsea know what they're doing, and for them it's 55 million. They've sold us Mount, they've sold some absolute duds. So if we are going to do loans, they need to be an obligation and not a Sancho obligation to buy. It needs to be an obligation to buy, and they're gone. So whatever happens, it needs to be an obligation. I don't care whatever the price is. Go, you're going, you're not coming back. I don't want these. You can escape these loans. You're going. Whether we work some deal cash in there, these players need to go. So I do think they will go, but I think some of these players think they're playing a clever game, but I generally do think it's going to backfire on them. So that's sort of where we are with that. Now, if anyone saw the West Ham game yesterday, I sort of wanted to bring into the show and kind of open it up, really. United fans, I didn't see the Liverpool game, so I can't really comment on your team because it makes me upset because your team is so good right now. But what I'm not going to lie. Before I saw the game and I saw the team news, it's just almost a reaction, right? It was the same team, no new players in that team yesterday, and you can watch the stream back, and I'm saying I'm disappointed. I was disappointed, quite stunned at the team in Bournemouth. Not fit enough to play. You spend weeks trying to chase a player, and he's not even fit to play. That's a letdown. That I think that's not acceptable. I'm still of that opinion now, but you know that's fine. Cunha too fatigued, you know, and then Luke Shaw playing, you know, all the usual suspects playing, and I wasn't expecting much. Now, to my surprise, and I will say that I was really happy against the Bournemouth. I said West Ham, but I meant the Bournemouth game. So Bournemouth historically, you know, they run a lot, and United come up from the traps extremely well. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the game because I wanted more so to focus on the players and the players that we think maybe will get into the team. Should we still sell some of these players, or maybe not now, but maybe in the future? Do they have a future in this at this club? So I think it'd be nice to go over that anyway for me. So really impressed with the game. You know, I thought that everybody did pretty well. I would say that I'm just trying to think back of who I didn't think really did well. Mason Mount for me. As Tulip play again, come out of the banger yesterday. He's too slow for that number 10, and he's definitely not a number 8. So you know, players like Mason Mount I don't think did particularly well. Ahmad I thought grew into the game. I thought he did quite well. Højlund played reasonably well. We had a good, you know, quite intense. You know, again, I still don't think his runs are great. He scored a great goal. It's a great movement in the box. He is showing signs of improvement. You know, his run for the header was a glancing header. It was a great header. You know, the movement. That's what I want to see. He didn't show enough of that. He still worked hard. I think people are over egging him a little bit. I still don't think he was as good as people are saying he was, but he was good. I thought that so Dorgu was my man of the match. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was immense and great. So a Delo, he was okay. Again, I don't think he was brilliant. He's not a starter for me, but I thought he did reasonably well. You know, he reminds me of one of our like O'Shea type of players. Those kind of squad players, like a Neville, not like more so like a Phil Neville. That sort of style of player who comes into the squad. I like him. He works hard, but he's not a starter for me. Luke Shaw did reasonably well. I know I thought he was injured. I'll be surprised if he's not injured by October. Euro for me, I thought was brilliant. Again, you know, I like how he plays. Maguire, and then De Ligt came on as well. I thought he did really well. Heaton, obviously, he's not going to be a starter in the team, but you know, he did well and made some good saves. And then the players that came on, Williamson scored a goal. Obi, you know, all these young players, they came on as well. So you know, they did well. Ugarte again come on. He showed some good things. So I sort of so Devaya, again, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Yo man, where are you based? I'm based in the UK. I'm based in a place called Essex, and yeah, that's where I am, my friend. I'd love to know where you're from as well, so put it in the chat. Of course, I do love to know where you guys are from. There's so many different people in this chat. It is amazing. So I wanted to sort of go through, and again, I think this is a good opportunity for those in the chat. Obviously, don't forget to give us a like. It really does help the channel out. Of course, it does. Where we think, who do we think is going to start in the team, and where do we think that they're going to play, and who should maybe be in the team and not India. Fantastic. I'm glad you could come on from India. Thank you for being here. So I'll start off. So in goal, I'm just going to say controversially, Binder for me is a number 2, but would I start him over Heaton? I'm going to discount Onana completely, okay? He will probably be in goal for the first game. Unless we go and get a keeper of some quality right now, which is a fair chance that we will, and I can only judge by what we're going for and what I've heard. So Onana will be in goal. I'm going to discount him. I'm going to completely say right now that Onana needs to go. So that's a position that's up for grabs. Binder, he's a number 2. Again, he's not good enough. And Heaton. So in my opinion, I would go for one of those two. Binder for me would probably be the starter, only on the basis that, you know, I don't know. But Heaton has showed some good stuff. So maybe against Arsenal, do you know what? Maybe I'd go Heaton. You know, I don't like to say that. But Onana for me, Onana will start irrespective of what I say. But Onana for me needs to go. Binder also I think needs to go. And we need to bring in a new number 2 and a first choice keeper. So Delo. So I think he needs to. I think for me he's a keeper. I think as in we need to keep him. I think that I would keep him. He wouldn't be my first choice down that side. But it depends on what you're going to do with that side. So next season I'd like to bring in a new right back or right wing back. But this is kind of where we're sort of talking now, is that Mazraoui can play there as well. So potentially Mazraoui could do that sort of wing back role, but it depends on what we're going to do with the centre back. So centre backs wise, obviously we've got a De Ligt, we've got Yoro in there as well, Maguire, Luke Shaw, Mazraoui can play there as well. So for me, my starting back 3 would be De Ligt, would be Yoro, and Mazraoui. I think I would start with those 3. Luke Shaw for me is Luke Shaw, as much as he's come back into the squad, and if you listen to MU TV and you listen to him talk, and you know he's on there and he's saying all this good stuff. While Luke Shaw is fit, I would sell him. I think he's been at this club for a long time. He's not the future for me. He's not the future. You know, Amarin alluded to him as being world class. On his day, back in the past, he was, but he's going to break down again. He simply is going to break down. On his day, he's functional. I think he's a good replacement to bring on, but he's not a starter for me. He's not the future. And I think Yoro is the future. De Ligt, again, he's still young. People forget how young he is. So Danny B's in the chat, my old friend. I'm very good, pal. I hope you're doing really well today. I'm just going through the United team, who I would start, who I would pick, who would be my number 1s in each position, and maybe who would I sell, who would come in within the season. So feel free to get your opinions in the chat. As well. So back 3 for me, and we do need to get away from this back 4. We as much as we potentially would like to play, some of you may like to play a back 4. That's out of the window. So I think we could do maybe next season with another centre back. I think Mazraoui for me, I think will play in there. He's quite a versatile defender. He can play that kind of that wing back, defensive wing back position. So Mazraoui for me, I would probably start him as a centre back, right sided, Yoro, or left sided, maybe left sided, Yoro as the right sided, and then De Ligt as the centre back. So then you've got Maguire, then you've obviously then got Shaw as well. But I think for me, while Shaw is fit, he's not the future. So for me, I think while he's fit, I would look to sell him even in this window. That's not going to happen. But we do have internationals there now. Maguire, Shaw, strength and depth. So I think there we're fine. Dorgu on that left hand side. So I think Dorgu is is fantastic. I think he's a fantastic player there. I like him a lot. I think he's going to do really, really well this season. Now we've got Leon as well. So Leon, I think, will be part of this team this season. So I think the left and right wing back positions, you've got Delo in there. So he's one where ultimately he could play either side. But you've got Leon, you've got Ahmad potentially in there as well. Ahmad, is he going to get in those number 10s? I don't know. So you've got those left and right wing back positions defensively or going forward. You've definitely got those. There's multiple people now in those positions. So for me, it's a difficult one. So I think Dorgu for me would be my. And again, I think his defensive game will grow. I think he's going to be that. He's going to be that left wing back who's defensive, but also going forward as well, as he proved. So for me, he's a starter. Ahmad, to going forward slightly, Leon would definitely be in the team. In the team, but not in the first team, but as a backup player. Now, this is where we kind of going to go for Ahmad. Now, Ahmad for me, I'd love to get your opinions on him. He's a conundrum for me this season because I like him a lot. The ball at his feet, his finishing, I think is first class. He can really finish a ball. He got his goal. He did score an offside goal against West Ham, but the finish was there or thereabouts. And the ball at his feet seems to stick to his feet, but where is he going to play? Now, could he play right wing back? Would he be my starting right wing back? I don't know, and that's the thing. He's not defensive enough for me. He's not strong enough for me. I prefer him going forward than going backwards. So the only conclusion I can really come up with is that he needs one of those number 10 roles. Now we can talk about those because we're going to be stacked in those roles as well. Now centre midfielder. For me, Bruno Fernandes is going to play, so he's locked in that number 8 role. Now, I will be one of his biggest critics this season, purely because there was an opportunity there to do something else. That's not his fault, and I'm not going to be a critic for the sake of it. When he plays well, I'll say he played well. He was very good this morning. Disciplined, probably the most disciplined I've seen him. Tackling, tracking back, even back further, and not just going into empty pockets of just random pockets of space, making meaningful runs, not shooting from 25 yards out, looking for that pass. I really like that interchange of those number 10s, trying to keep that ball and then trying to make things happen, trying to cross the ball into the box. The fact that Ahmad scored the goal from inside the box, those are the goals that I want to see. Those are the goals for me. I want to see a tap-in. If Højlund scored every single goal from inside the box, 20 goals, I would be so happy I can't even tell you, because that those goals are, you're doing the right things. Those are the goals. And then you supplement the rest of the goals with bangers and screamers, but your core-centric goals should be in and around the box, in the box for a striker. It means that you're doing your job. So I really liked what they were trying to do, and the system-wise, you could really see that. So Bruno Fernandes is going to be in that number 8 role. That's going to be his role. In some games, I think he'll play a number 10, but I think primarily he's going to play in that pivot. The other starter for me, so probably going to be Ugarte. Came on, straight away. He looks more comfortable. I think for me, watching all the players, Dorgu looks one of the most improved, but Ugarte looks really improved as well. Now, got to caveat that with his pre-season, and there's no pressure. There's not really pressure on the players as such. There is pressure to perform. There's still the lights and cameras, etc., to perform, but ultimately, there's no pressure. But I think Ugarte will play in that number 6 role. Now you've got Casemiro. who can come in. So again, you've got 2 players fighting for that position. Number 8, Mainu. So that number 8, you've got Fernandes, Mainu. Whether or not you agree that Mainu is that number 8 role, but you've still got a bunch of players in there. You've got Collier as well to come in there. I don't think I've missed anything. So you've got those players fighting for those positions. Potentially another centre midfielder to come in there. So you've got that probably for that number 8 role. You've got Mainu knocking on that door. Mainu can do that number 6 and that number 8. Fernandes I think is exclusively that number 8. Collier could possibly do that number 6. Not great, but number 8. They've got Casemiro and Ugarte, and Mainu again can flip between the 2 roles. So midfield-wise, I would probably go Fernandes purely because he is going to play. So there's no debate on that one, and Ugarte would probably start for me in there. Mainu, Mainu's one of the ones where I worry about what we're going to do for him. I think he's a talented young kid. I think he's got all the attributes. You know, he's started to look better. There is a contract for Mainu. I have a sneaky suspicion. It wouldn't surprise me if we were looking to sell him, maybe to Spurs, cheekily sell him to Spurs or somebody who. But I want to keep Mainu. I think he's one for the future, and I would have him really in and amongst that team. I wouldn't blame people if they wanted to start him ahead of Fernandes, for example. But I think that Ugarte and Fernandes are going to be the ones to start. Now, those 2 number 10 positions for me, again, there are multiple. And we do have depth within the team. I don't think we've got great depth in terms of the quality of players. I think the players who come in, I think the standard will slightly drop. But you've got Cunha and Fernandes can play in there as well. Mbeumo, for me, Mbeumo can do 2 things. He can play in that number 10 role, but he can also be a makeshift striker. So it really depends on I don't like to see it, but it really does depend on, you know, where Amorim eyes him. I think in those number 10s. Then, of course, you've got Mason Mount. Mason Mount, I would sell him tomorrow. Again, you've got Mason Mount that can play 10, Xerxes that can play number 10, Ahmad that can play 10, Fernandes that can play 10. So we've got a load of number 10 potential in there that can play around. But Mbeumo will clearly start, and Cunha will start as well. So I think those 2 positions are locked down. Mount is going to be a bench player. He'd be my bench player anyway. Xerxes, if and when he's fit, he could supplement the striker position or be number 10, and Ahmad would be a number 10 as well for me. Mount, for me, he's a squad player. I think he is a squad player. He's going to be a squad player. I think he needs to feel fortunate that he's a squad player, because, you know, he hasn't played for the best part of 2 years. I don't want to see Mason Mount start. If he wants to play him in a Carabao Cup game, that's fine. But for me, I don't want to see that. Striker-wise, now, obviously Sesko isn't here yet, but Šeško will start. And then it's, what do we do with that? How, do we keep Haaland? You know, I'm not adverse to keeping him, but maybe he needs to go out there. It depends what Amorim thinks that he can do. Amorim, I think, would like Haaland to stay. I personally would like him to stay. So then you've got Obi, Haaland and Sesko up front, and then you've got those positions. So in terms of a team, I think we are looking better. We certainly played better, but I'm going to bring it down slightly and just say, is this a false dawn? You know, it's really easy in pre-season. You know, we see it tons of times. Teams who play well win cups and whatever else in pre-season, but ultimately the pressure's off, and when the season really hits, that's when it really counts. So I want to be optimistic. One of the things I'm going to say this time and time again that I did say that I wanted to see was improvement. And even though I was disappointed with the team lineup, I wanted to see improvement, what Amorim could do as a coach. And I think he proved the point. Those players did look hungry, they looked better. They pressed together, they pressed backwards, forwards. The fact we're only going to pretty much have 1 game a week we do have depth in all those positions. We can almost, we're going to play a very high pressing, high energy game. We can almost keep that up, and there's going to be no excuses for us not to play like that. My only concern is what happens when we go away and we go a goal down. Do we have the mentality to come back? And we're not going to know this until we start the season. But if we're looking as an indicator, which I said I was looking for leading up into every game, I was looking for progression, particularly after the Leeds game. I saw that with West Ham. Wasn't perfect. And then the Bournemouth game, I think, I was even I was pretty shocked by the response and how they come out and how they played. Where do I think we finish? Right now, if we can maintain this quality in the team and this standard, I don't think the sky's the limit, but I think it's going to be pivotal to get a keeper. So a Lemens, a Martinez, somebody to replace that keeper, maybe a centre midfielder, and then I think we're knocking on the door of sixth. I'd love to say fifth, one of those Champions League spots. I really would love to be confident and say, look, we can really push for that. But it depends on what those other teams around us are going to do, and we are going to be reliant on them not being as good as they were last season. So I think we need to, as I said before, the top 3, top 4 teams, they're not living on optimism. Liverpool are not. Man City are not. They're not saying we're hoping and we're optimistic we're going to win the league, or we're optimistic by luck we're going to finish in the 3rd or 4th. They're buying players and they're saying we're optimistic we're going to win the league, only because there's another 2 or 3 teams around us that are so good, but we're going to win the league, and pretty much we are going to. We are optimistic that we're going to finish first, but we might finish second. But we're guaranteeing ourselves by buying these players. They're not leaving it to chance, is what I mean. Is that they are going for it, sign these players in. We're going into the Champions League. Okay, we're optimistic that we'll win it, but we're going down. We'll probably get to a final. So they're not leaving it to chance. They're not waiting around to see what their competitors are doing. They're just going out and going, we're going to get the best we can, going to execute our plan, and we're going to make damn sure that we finish in those top 3 spots, and giving us a good chance of winning Champions League or a league. And we're starting to make those moves. Šeško does represent a commitment to for the future. I think if we'd have gone for a Watkins and wanted to pay whatever it costs, for me that would have meant, look, well, we're going for it. But with Šeško, you can almost go, look, it may not be good this season. So it almost gives us a little bit of an excuse to give us time. But realistically, we finished 15th last season. We're buying these players, but if we finish 6th or 5th, Amorim really needs to take the praise, because jumping from 15th to 6th, and I'm not saying people need to apologise to him, and because ultimately this season wasn't great, but equally as if people were destroying him last season, and I'm talking about pundits, us fans, we are emotional, we love this club, and we're trying to. We've had this for so long that we're tired of it. So we are emotional and we say things at the time we don't mean. I say things as well, but in the passage of time, we see a bit clearer, probably quicker than a club can and quicker than the pundits can. But I really hope that, for Amorim's sake and for the club's sake, for my sake, I want him to succeed. That the tactics and what he's doing to these players really holds firm, that it really gets to these players and they really perform. And if Amorim finishes 6th or 5th, I really hope all these pundits who have come out and blasted him and you had Gabby from Gabby Abong Lahore from Talksport saying that he's not great. He's not the best coach. I hope people like that come out and they apologise to him. I don't think fans need to say anything because we've been here before. I think those sorts of pundits and people need to hold their hands up. For example, if Luke Shaw suddenly becomes world class and suddenly becomes good, I will hold my hands up and I'll say, look, I was wrong, but based on what I've seen for the last 2 to 3 years and him basically stealing a wage but going to a World Cup, I think that's disrespectful to the fans. But he's come back, so I'm open, 100% open to redemption arcs, but at the same time, these pundits and whoever else have slaughtered us and this team. They need to come out and start being positive. However, if the adverse happens and the season falls to bits because of things, then again I need to be equal and fair and say if Amorim gets his players and he's had time with his players, he's going to get even more time. We may have to accept that Amorim isn't that guy, and these are not the players. So we don't know, and this is the problem for me, and this is the biggest problem right now with this club. We go from project to project, and until we see some consistency, because we don't have consistency, we can't judge it straight away. Like Liverpool know their system. They got a new coach who came in to the team and slotted in really well because they knew their transition period, the consistency is there. So they've got a style of play. They know how they want to play. They bring players through. City are the same. Pep, players come in. They know what they're going to do. They may have lost the league, but they're consistent in their approach. They've had the same coach for X amount of years. But irrespective of when Pep leaves, they know a style of play. Chelsea, a little bit up and down, but they're buying players, right? We haven't had that. So as fans, we can't go, Amorim, we know about him, because we don't. We're only going to really know about him at the end of this season. But he needs this season to prove that. And this is the conundrum for us. Because we've been starved, we need to start giving managers time. So even if he finished 11th, but it was a better season, players improved, and we're going to make improvements again, I wouldn't sack him. I really want... For me, the biggest thing this season, what I want to see is I want to see application. I want to see improvement. If the matches are not as dire, and actually, we've been unlucky in some of these games, but we still, with draws, we've won. We just had a season where we've just not, we've not got all our players in, but we've intensely improved and we moved up the league to say 8th, 10th. It's not a great season, but we are doing something, and I wouldn't call for his head then. So I think as a fan base, I think we need to be we need to have our eyes open to particularly spin, Amorim outers. And again, as I will always say this, if you're Amorim out, no problem to me at all. I'm not against you. I'm not going to fight you on that. You're welcome on here. It's an opinion, and you're valid in your opinion of what you think. You may be so experienced. You may be a young coach. You may be like me and watch football for a long time. Maybe I'm slightly blinkered because I don't want to see another coach sacked. But you may be a young coach and you can already see Amorim's faults, and Amorim is a young guy himself as well. So you may be able to see that Amorim's faults and go, well, actually, I look at the game in a different way, and you can already see that he's not the guy. That could happen as well. But I think we owe it to ourselves, and I think we owe it to ourselves and the new players is to give this time and to see how we go for this season. So I'm looking forward. I am looking forward to it now more than I was then, and I'm looking forward to the next game, and I'm hoping for a really good start to the season. So I'm going to keep it light. Again, been going for an hour, and I love these shows. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave it. I'm absolutely knackered. Did the stream this morning. I didn't sleep either from the previous day, so I pretty much went all the way through to 4:30. Slept for a bit, up again about 7 or 8, and then kind of worked through the day. So I'm absolutely shattered. But I appreciate, and I will always end the stream and say this, that I generally cannot believe and thankful for you giving me your time. That's the one thing you cannot buy, and I can't stress this enough. You cannot buy time, and you've chosen to spend your time with me. Whether you spent a minute with me, a second with me, that I generally thank you for spending the time with me. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Just even if it's to get into this amazing chat, just come in here. You've got some absolute bangers in here, some amazing people. You've got different people who support different teams who come in here as well. And they're all amazing, fantastic people. So thank you to the chat. You've got so Danny B's in there, legend. So Deva Yaga, I probably pronounced that wrong. Chilip Plays, legend of the chat. Spirit of LFC fans, another becoming a legend, even if he's just support a suspect team. Yakadu, who what have we got? Snoopy CS. So, legends of the chat. Thank you so much for being here. My X and stuff, as I say, and Outlook and stuff is on the channel page. So feel free to give us a follow on X as well. Let people know about what we do here, and obviously get in the chat. And if anything breaks, I will try and get on, even if it's in half an hour. I'll jump back on again. So whatever you do, enjoy the rest of your day, morning, evening, and of course I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching and being here with me. It means a lot, and thank you for keeping me company and talking about something that I really, really love. So I will see you very soon, and